shared preferences saving data in the local memory. Hello everyone, today we will learn how to save data in local memory using the shared preferences class. So you can see here I created a new project, and if you want you can use your older project. I'm just keeping it clean. And I will add 4 components to the project. I'll add 1 edit text, 1 multi-line text. Now, you know that multi-line edit text is used on the message applications, right? So the user can write a long text message using multi-line edit text. Also, I'm going to add 1 button and 1 checkbox. So now I have 4 components, and I will change the design of the components a little bit. I'll select 4 components, and I'm doing this by pressing the Control key on the keyboard. And I'll change the layout margin. So I will change the layout height of the multi-line text to 200. And I will change the text of the button. I'll write 0. All right, so now my crude design is ready. So now I want to save data in these 4 components using the shared preferences class. So first, I will define these components in the main activity Java class. So what do we have here? 1 edit text. I will write edit text, username. 1 multi-line text. I will write edit text, user message. 1 button. I will write button counter. And 1 checkbox. I will write checkbox remember. And I will continue to define these 4 components in the onCreate method. But before I continue, I do need to give an ID to these components, yeah? So the ID of the edit text is edit text name. The ID of the multi-line edit text is edit text message. ID of the button can stay the same, button. And the ID of the checkbox can also stay the same, checkbox. Okay, good. So now I can continue. Thanks for waiting. So I'll just write here username equals find view by ID r.id.edit text name. User message equals find view by ID r.id.edit text message. Counter equals find view by ID r.id.button. Remember equals find view by ID r.id.checkbox. Now, why on earth did I call the checkbox remember? I mean, you know generally that a checkbox is used in these kinds of applications to, it's like a remember me button. If you check this checkbox, it will remember you for next time. So because of this, I named it remember. Do you remember? Because I do. Hopefully it was part of it. Maybe I better rewind and check it. No, I'm just kidding. You can name it whatever the heck you want, but now you know my intent. So I'm going to add an integer container. I will write int count equals 0. After that, I will add a click listener to the button, and I will write counter.set on click listener, new view on click listener. Inside the onClick method, I will write count equals count plus 1. I want it to increase plus 1 on every click on this button. And it will write the new count value on the counter button. And I will write counter.setText. And inside the parenthesis, quotation marks plus count. Now, I really do want to mention this, that normally you cannot write integer values on the button because the text should mostly be a string. You can write it after the convert integer value to string value, but this is just a shorter way to convert an integer to a string. If you write quotation marks before the integer value, it will convert it to a string. So I'm going to run the application in this state to show you what I'm going to do. So the application is running. I've got 4 components, 2 text edits, 1 button, 1 checkbox. So I'll write a name in this edit text. Now also I'm going to write something in this multi-line edit text. Now it's not important what I'm going to write here, so also I'm going to click this button several times. So every click, the counter is going to increase plus 1. And let's see, I'm going to click the checkbox, or check, I guess we check boxes, check. So if I leave the application without saving this state and then open the application again, I will see that everything is gone. So think about that. You wrote a name here, you wrote a long text message here. This counter can be a score or something, and you check the checkbox. So after these operations, if you have to close the application suddenly, everything's going to be deleted. So why did I use these 4 components? Because this edit text uses string. So this multi-line edit text also uses string, but it's a long string. This button uses integer, and this checkbox uses Boolean. So you know that the checkbox can take 2 states, checked and unchecked. It's either true or false. So I want to show you how to save a string, integer, and Boolean values. And here we are. We are now going to finally get to the idea of how to save these values in local memory in this video. And then after that, we're going to learn how to call back these saved values. Before we continue, I want to show you again what happens on the device. So I'll write a name here, and I'm going to write something here. And I will click this button several times and check the checkbox. And then after that, just close the application. Now, open it up again, and you see that everything's deleted. So that's why I'm going to show you how to save these values using the Shared Preferences class. So I will first go to the main activity file. Now, before I call up the Shared Preferences class, I will create containers. I'll write string name, and this, of course, will be a username, string message, and I will take the user message, and Boolean is checked, and of course, this will take a checkbox status. Now, I already have an integer count container, so I don't have to write it again. Now, after all that, I can call the Shared Preferences class. And I'll write Shared Preferences. Now I need to name the Shared Preferences object. And the name can be the same, Shared Preferences. Okay, so now after that, I do need to decide when I will save these values. So if you look here, when I close the application, the values are deleted. So if you can remember back that far, because I don't know if I can, when I explained the Android lifecycle, Remember that I told you that if you close the application, it will pass it to the onPause method first. And then after the onPause method, it will pass it onStop and then to onDestroy. So if I save the values in the onPause method, I won't lose the values, right? So I will do my shared preferences operations in the onPause method. I will call the onPause method, and I will save the values in the onPause method, but I will create a save method, and I will write the saving codes in this method. Then after that, I can call this method in the onPause method. So this will make my job a whole lot easier, and hopefully yours too. And now I can use this save method wherever I want. So I'm going to write here public void save data. And then inside this method, I will call the shared preferences object. I will write shared preferences equals get shared preferences. And this method will take two parameters. First one is name. So this name is for the main shared preferences class. Second one is mode. Mode will be the context.mode private. So this mode private will give me access permission to save data from everywhere in the application, but it will restrict accessing outside the application, right? So that means that other applications will not be able to reach the saved data. Now, if you want to reach saved data from other applications, of course you can use other methods. Okay, so after all that, I want to put all this data into containers that I created here. So first, let's get the username, and I'll write name equals username dot get text dot to string. So this line of code will take the name from the username edit text, convert it to the string, and assign it to the string named container. Okay? So second, I want to take a message. So message equals user message dot get text dot to string. And then third, I'm going to need to take that count value, but I don't need to take it here because it increases after every click. And then assign it to the above. Okay, so lastly then, I will grab that checkbox state. So when I close the application, if it's checked, its state will be true, and if it's unchecked, its state will be false. And I will save its status. Okay, so I'm going to write if remember dot is checked, and then this is the checked method, and it will control the checkbox status, checked or unchecked. If it is checked equals true, else is checked equals false. So I grabbed every piece of data from the application. So now we need to save this data. I will call the editor class. I will save my data using this editor class. It's a subclass of the shared preference class. So when I write editor, Android Studio shows me shared preferences.editor. So all I have to do is select it. So let me give a name to this editor object. It can be editor as well. Editor equals shared preferences.edit. this shared preferences is an object shared preferences, the one that I created above. So then after that, I will save the data using this editor. And I'll write editor.putString. If I want to save the string, I will write putString. If I want to save an integer, I will write putInteger. And if I want to save Boolean, I will write putBoolean. So all of these methods will, of course, take two parameters. The first one is keyword. Second one is the data to be saved. Now you remember that shared preferences class stores data using a key value method. So if we want to call this stored data, we will call it using this keyword. So I'm going to write for the keyword key name and what was the data to save name. Okay, so let's continue. Editor.putString key message. Editor.putInt key count. Now, I gave the keyword key count, and I want to save the count value. But the last one is editor.putBoolean key remember is checked. Now, of course, you need to be careful about the keyword. The keyword has to be unique, and that's because if you use the same keyword in another place, it can be confusing. Now, after that, I will write editor.commit. This line will store the data. And if you don't write this line, your data won't be stored, right? All of that work, and if you don't put in the right editor.commit. Now, my save method is ready. So I can use this method, again, wherever I want. So let's, finally, let's add a toast message. After the save, it will show us a toast message. Message is, your data is saved. And now I will call this method in the onPause method. But of course, if you want to, you can use this method in another place. But for now, let's stay with this. But just to give you an example, you can create a save button and then use this method in the button click listener. If the user clicks the save button, it will, of course, save the data. So why don't we right now run the application and see if it works or not. No, I'm confident. I know it does. You might not. So the application is open. I will write a name here. And I'll write something here. And I'll click this button several times. And I will check the checkbox. And now I will close the application. And after I close it, toast message is seen. So now my data is saved. What do you think? Let's open up the application again just to see. And what do we see? Do you see what I see? When I open the application, nothing came back. Oh, it's a disaster, right? Don't worry, the data is saved. Actually, the data is saved in the device. But if we want to see the saved data, we've got to call it back. So what do? We call it back in the next video. So I'm going to see you over there.